Hi, I'm John Messer, the Leadership Development Catalyst for LuminXUSA.org, and today I'd like to talk to you about how you can find your ministry sweet spot. Because believe it or not, everybody has one, and sometimes it's kind of nice to know there is a sweet spot in ministry. So let's consider every Christian leader who has a ministry sweet spot, and of course every Christian does, but leaders especially want to try to minister out of their sweet spot as much as possible. And based on material in J. Robert Clinton and Richard Clinton's book, Unlocking Your Giftedness, let's look at the three components that help us define what our ministry sweet spot is. So every one of us, every Christian leader has three major components that comprise our sweet spot. Number one, we have spiritual gifts. Number two, we have natural abilities. And number three, we have acquired skills. All three of those together are part of God's sovereign plan to build into us a very specific ministry, a unique contribution that He is intending us to fulfill for His kingdom. So now, for sake of illustration, I've used mine, and so I'll show you how that works. So a Venn diagram is actually a very helpful tool, and a Venn diagram, of course, is intended that the amount of overlap is how much one is working with the other. And so what we do is we put together our spiritual gifts as the base, and my primary gift is teaching, supporting gifts of knowledge and wisdom, and so that's the base. And I build onto that then my natural abilities, which through years I've recognized are developing and innovating. And so we put that in approximate location of how much overlap there is with that spiritual giftedness. And then third, we look at our acquired skills through either training, formal or informal, seminars, things that we have learned along the way, maybe just through experience, but those things that we have seen God use in the past, and there has been a response. Mine are leadership and strategic thinking. So we put our acquired skills on the Venn diagram in approximate location of how much overlap there is between giftedness and natural abilities. And what you want to do, once you have worked that out, is recognize that the place where all three of those components overlap is actually your ministry sweet spot. So when I think of developing, innovating, teaching, leading, and strategic thinking, the places where I will be most effective and where I will make my greatest contribution are those places where all of those overlap. And that's right here. Now, it's important to know that a ministry sweet spot, depending on how much overlap there is, can either be small or it can be fairly large. The important thing to understand is that the smaller your ministry sweet spot, the more specific positions you need to be in where all of those things will come together. If you have a fairly large ministry sweet spot, you'll be able to experience ministry in many more contexts. You'll have more flexibility on where you can make that contribution. So a large ministry sweet spot isn't good or bad, neither is a small one. It's just helping you understand that the smaller it is, the smaller the sweet spot. For example, if there's not as much overlap between teaching and developing or innovating, or between teaching and leading or strategic thinking, that would reduce the situations where I would be able to minister with all of my strengths. So the sweet spot, smaller, means you have to have more defined, more specific and precise positions to minister. Bigger sweet spot means you have a little more flexibility. There are more places, more times, more situations and contexts. And that's the important thing to understand. So regardless of what your Venn diagram looks like, God has prepared you, Ephesians 2:10, for good works that He's prepared in advance for you to do. And my suggestion, my proposal, my belief and conviction is that God is intending you to work from your sweet spot. So if you want help with this, if you'd like to learn more, contact LuminXUSA.org. We'll be doing seminars on transitions and leadership development that will help you find your ministry sweet spot and fulfill your calling. Thanks for being with us. See you next time.